Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. 17 days away from what I'm thinking is going to be the biggest fight of the year. And I'm just being real with you. There is so much, there's just so much going on with this fight. There's so much at stake. So let's talk about it. Now, I'm on part 12. I'm not sure how many parts I'm going to do in this video. Maybe 12 through 14. Then I'll do like 15 through 18, something like that. But anyway, let's start off here with part 12, man. Claressa Shields, Franchon, Dezurn. Let's talk about the ego versus the legacy. Ego is louder than legacy. Who's fighting for history here? And I think we need to explore whether this fight, what's more important here? Because there seems to be a whole lot more talk about ego than legacy. But there's also emotional decisions that could derail championship careers if these women don't get it right. One person seems to be more emotional than the other. That's Claressa Shields. But it doesn't mean anything. I think that what's most important is that we understand legacy. It's like long-term thinking. And when I look at this, when it comes to legacy, long-term thinking, I think Claressa is more, I'll be honest with you, before I would say Claressa was thinking more about long-term as a fighter. But it may be Franchon now, because Franchon's not talking about children. Franchon's talking about fighting and winning and going on to be the greatest in the sport of boxing. Claressa is talking like, I'm already the greatest, I want children. So when it comes to breaking down the legacy, who's the long-term thinker here and thinking about being around for another 5-6 years? It ain't Claressa Shields. She's thinking about fighting, having children, take a break, have more children, and continue. You can't do that. You can't start and stop boxing. But when it comes to ego, short-term reaction, that's Claressa Shields. She's all ego. I'm not saying Franchon doesn't have some ego too, but Claressa is more thinking about her ego and getting in there and not allowing herself to lose and be embarrassed. Claressa speaks often about her greatness. And with Franchon speaks more about opportunity. And when you take a look at the fans tend to reward confidence, like what they're seeing in Franchon, but punish the arrogance, like what Claressa Shields gives off. And this is the thing. Claressa wants applause. She wants to be lauded. It's because of the ego. Legacy, like Franchon, they're cool with silence. They just want results. Because you got to understand, history doesn't remember arguments. It doesn't remember drama. It doesn't remember all that noise. It remembers performances. And that's what we're going to find out with this fight. Is Claressa protecting her legacy, or is she feeding her ego? Because I tell you what, the truth gonna show up in that ring on February 22nd. And I know, like, I had one person say, look, man, just because people are saying that Franchon is not posting her training videos, and people are speculating that Franchon is locked in. And it's saying because Claressa is posting so much online and she's out here going back and forth with people on the internet, that people are assuming she's not focused in training camp. And they're saying y'all are getting it wrong. Claressa 100% is out here looking to feed her ego and protect her legacy. They're saying she can do both. And people shouldn't put so much value into Franchon not having an online presence like Claressa. They say because it won't matter come fight night. But going on to part 13, I think there's an attitude versus perception. You know, this is where you try to break down fighter attitudes and how they're interpreted by fans and media and how perception becomes reality. And it doesn't matter what a fighter wants. The fans are going to give them what they want to give them. You know, because the reality is this. Attitude is internal. perception is external. You control your attitude, man. But as far as how people perceive you, you have no control over that. People will look and see you for what they want. A lot of time, your attitude, which you have control over, influences perception. You take a look at Claressa Shields, very outspoken, very outspoken. Franchon is very reserved. But when you're outspoken, that can equal leadership to some people. When you're outspoken, that can also equal very annoying to others. But when you're reserved, that can equal being very disciplined to some. But others can say, this person reserved and quiet. That means their ass is scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. And when it comes to fans, they judge the tone. They judge a fighter's tone. They don't deal with the facts all the time. So that's why when it comes to interviews can shape narratives. I know that firsthand. It's amazing, boy, depending on what a person does or say in the interview, how that shit can shape a narrative. So I have to ask, is Franchon being misunderstood as being too quiet and scared? Or is Claressa being misunderstood as being too outspoken and annoying? You know, are they both mismanaging their images? Should Claressa not necessarily be quiet but kind of come down some? And should Franchon not necessarily be loud but come up some? Are they mismanaging their images is, I guess, my question. Now, part 14. You know, this right here has really got people going, but relationship drama and distraction. Love, loyalty, and loose lips. When your personal life becomes public and you can't take it back. And this is where, you know, I try to examine how relationship rumors and emotional attachments become public weapons. You know, fighters, even if you don't talk about your personal problems, you lose privacy. Because you're out there, you're doing weigh-ins, you're fighting. I mean, there's certain things about you, man, that the public gets to see and know. And the privacy surrounding that is gone. And fans feel entitled to know everything about you. But the problem is maybe 10% of fans will let it go in one ear and out the other and have good intentions. The other 90, if they like you, they like you. When they don't like you, they go and they start running their mouth and acting crazy. This is how the fans operate. And when it comes to relationships, you know, look, nobody has nothing to say about Franchon. She's married. Her husband helps to train her. That's it. Nobody has nothing to say about Franchon. Ain't nobody here talking about Franchon and her husband. Nobody. What about Claressa? What are they talking about when it comes to Claressa? Claressa, Papoose, talk about Papoose. They talk about Remy. They even talk about, you know, Papoose and the children he has. They talk about Claressa and how she wants kids with Papoose. I just want to get married. I just want to get married. And people latch on to that shit. And that right there is like 80% of the conversation. What's Papoose going to do next? Where is Where is he going to end up? Valentine's Day, will he be back in New York with Remy and his daughter? What's Claressa going to do? Is she going to go off the deep end? You know, will she travel to New York? You know, it's all kind of shit. But when you go and you put all of your personal information out there, that's what happens. That's what happens. That's some really good gossip. What's that I learned from doing those lives? They call it tea. That's some really good tea. I don't know why I don't call that shit coffee. The hell tea. Most of these people who calling it tea, they don't even drink goddamn tea. They don't even drink water. Oh, coffee. Oh, I need the tea. Tea my ass, man. Give me some goddamn coffee. For real. But emotional energy can leak into training when you're dealing with a bunch of gossip. That becomes narrative. You know, and there's out of Franchon and Claressa dealing with all the gossip. But she seems to have immersed herself in this shit. She like to go into people's pages and chats and stir the pot. But you could tell some of that gets to her because she's been out here trying to get channels disbanded. And I ain't saying she's wrong or right. I'm just saying that if you're going to own the internet, own the internet. But why you want to come out here and one day you're hot, next day you're cold? I mean, but at the same time, the bottom line is there's a lot of emotional energy she's putting into the gossip and about her relationship and just about herself. It makes you wonder in training, how's that going to affect her? Now, I've already said, Claressa is hard to go against her. She's always been unpredictable and been perfect. But at the same time, if she's not focused, 'tis the season for the GOAT to get scalped. And Franchon can scalp her. But we got to sit back and see, because obviously there has to be some trust between the trainer and the trainee. John David Jackson, Claressa's coach, and herself. Because if they don't have the trust, so this is a whole nother conversation. One thing for Claressa to be dealing with the gossip narratives, the relationship gossip, right? But if the trust isn't as strong, the bond isn't as strong between trainer and trainee with Claressa and John David Jackson, that's going to affect training. That's going to affect focus. That's just a whole other layer of shit that she got to deal with, and it stinks really bad. Now you got where maybe Claressa and Papoose may have, little ups and downs or an argument at home, and Claressa's escape is to the gym, and now she has arguing with her coach. And it's all bad, and you better hope the cameras don't catch it. Lord have mercy. If the cameras catch it, it's going to be horrible. And I'm going to tell you what, that shit's going to end up on the internet. People can't wait to get a little piece of something juicy, boy, to put out here on the internet. They don't play around, man. Core question from me is like, is personal drama stealing championship energy? Like, I'm gonna show you something here, which is probably gonna have y'all saying, what the hell? Turn this down. Watch this. I'm gonna show you how crazy things can get, man. That's why the internet is no joke.
Be honest. You sometimes wish you had your best friend's what? Wife. Tell me the age a kid stops being a toddler.
Now let me play that again for you, right?
Remind everybody of Andre's answers.
Just let you know how people can be, right?
Here we go. We asked 100 men. Be honest. You sometimes wish you had your best friend's what? Wife. Tell me the age a kid.
Okay. Now, Claressa Shields was on the Family Feud, and she had to answer some questions. And said, be honest. Tell me, sometimes you feel you had your best friend's what? And Andre Ward said car. Let you know where his mind is at. Now, this is from 6 years ago. And they asked Claressa Shields, and she said, when they said, you sometimes wish you had your best friend's what? And she said, wife. And that right there has gone totally left. Now, with me, it seemed pretty innocent to me. There are some people out here who wish they had somebody's wife, wish they had somebody's man, wish they had somebody's car. I don't see what's wrong with the answer. It's true. I remember back in the day, I had a homeboy. I was single, running around, bunch of women. He rolled with me sometimes, and he'd catch a few here and there, and he was married. I remember he was married, and I used to tell him, like, yo, man, I didn't want his wife or nothing, but I was like, his wife was a good woman and shit. Take care of the kid, cook, clean, all that. Was straight. And I used to tell him, I'm like, yo, if I had what you had there, I was like, I wouldn't be out here messing with these chicken heads, man. I was like, yo, your wife is chill, she cool, she don't give you no problems, everything's cool. What are you doing out here fucking around with these birds? You go catch a ringworm or something and take it back to your family. And he was like, nah, man. He thought he was missing out on something because he saw us, every other day we got a different woman and shit. He felt like he was missing out. Anyway, I used to watch that all the time and be like, he doesn't realize what he has. And then he saw me when I finally settled down and how I was with my wife and with my family. And he used to tell me, nah, man, I should have listened to you. So I think sometimes people look and you can see somebody's situation and you can admire it. Doesn't mean that you want their woman or want their man, but some people are taking that and running with it like, ooh, listen what Claressa said. And I'm like, I don't know if it's that deep, you know what I'm saying? But when you got that relationship drama, it can create distractions, man. And the internet never forgets. And personal drama can steal championship energy every single day. Now, as far as friendships turn factions, you listen to these fighters talk. Friendships shift into rivalries, and sides are chosen. Fighters can outgrow their teams. Loyalty gets tested. Money changes dynamics. Public statements draw lines. It's no secret that Claressa Shields and Franchon Dezurn are friends. But I'm just wondering, depending on what happens after this fight, how close are they going to remain? Are they going to still remain friends? Because maybe they still continue to show a little bit of support for each other, but it kind of becomes political. Maybe the boxing circle becomes smaller. Maybe they really start to genuinely feud, because I'll tell you what, Franchon Dezurn's not trying to learn. And it's gonna make me wonder who's really gonna be in their corners. If Claressa Shields loses to Franchon Dezurn, that's going to affect their personal relationship. But you better believe it is going to affect Claressa's relationship with Papoose, her relationship with Dimitri Salita, her relationship with Win Records, her relationship with all of her colleagues, her relationship with everybody. Everybody. Her being undefeated is her crown jewel. If she loses, it affects everything, her relationship with everyone, and especially with the fans who are just sitting back locked and loaded, just waiting to see her lose. Now, for Franchon Dezurn, if she loses, I think it can affect her relationship with Claressa, her relationship with the promoter. I don't think it affects anything with her and her husband and with fans, because one thing for sure is if Franchon loses, it's because she tried her best. But nobody really has a high expectation for her, except for maybe herself and the real boxing fans who know that Franchon Dezurn can scrap. But I'm going to wonder who's going to be in Claressa's corner if she loses. Who's going to be in Franchon's corner if she loses? But if you ask me, what do I think happens if Franchon loses? I say nothing. She maybe struggles to get, back into the swing of things with big fights. But for Claressa, I think everything falls apart. I do. That's just my opinion, man. Because the internet is the jury. And when it comes to Claressa and the internet, she's going to be found guilty every time, man. Because what it is it's like trial by timeline. That's how it is, sitting back, watching how it plays out. She's on trial. And they're just sitting back examining the evidence, man. But the bottom line is when it comes to the internet and these fans become judges. I like to try to analyze how fans act as judge, jury, and executioner. There is no due process when it comes to these fans at all. Especially Claressa, this is the problem. Claressa doesn't have diehard boxing fans giving her a hard time. She has females out here who, most of them have no idea about boxing. They just don't like her. Now, Claressa has done and said some things, which I ain't here to talk about all that shit again, because I've talked about it so much. But most of them, they just don't like her. It has nothing to do with boxing. Most of them, they never seen her fight. Some have. They just don't like her. So there's no due process for Claressa Shields. There's no context for some people. They're not giving her any mercy. It's just screenshots they're putting out and videos and clips that are going to live forever, man. And clips remove nuance. One sentence equals identity. Dogpiling becomes a sport. Bullying becomes a sport. Harassing becomes a sport. And if you go silent to some people, they think you're guilty of something. When in reality, you just chose to leave bullshit alone because they ain't affecting your money. They ain't affecting your happiness, so you let the miserable people just sit there and run their mouth, man. But apologies can come across as weakness to some people. But you'll never hear Claressa Shields come out and apologize unless she knows she's totally wrong about something. But if she doesn't think she's wrong, she gonna be like, "Why am I apologizing? I ain't do nothing wrong." She ain't gonna show no humility and apologize to shit. She ain't apologized about Layla Ali, so she not gonna come out and apologize to no goddamn fan. You better believe that. But the reality is, Claressa Shields is gonna be fighting Franchon, but she's also fighting the internet. You know what I'm saying? She really is, man. So this fight comes down to me is like money versus meaning. It's part 17. You know, you're going to be paid or you're going to be just somebody who's remembered. And that's the price of the spotlight. Because we need to break down how money pressure changes behavior. Money can make you take it to the stupid. Hey, yo, Claressa Shields, Franchon, and all boxers out there. Hold your horses. Stop taking it to the stupid when it comes to this money. Fighters need income. We understand that. And these ladies deserve to be paid what the men make. They do. They get in there and they fight their asses off, and it's very exciting to watch these women get in there and scrap. But the thing is, fame needs maintenance. Drama increases clicks. Clicks increase leverage. Leverage increases ego. Ego increases risk. Risk increases mistakes. And mistakes cost sponsors. So is the bag worth the backlash? Because the mistakes that are being made out here on the internet is costing big time sponsors, costing big time endorsement deals, costing big brands that want to come and get behind individuals. And that's something that I personally feel is affecting Claressa Shields. So she just got to make a decision. She want to change her ways, change her image, and just get out here and do the business inside the ring, or she want to keep going out here and being a villain, because that's what people have her slotted as. They have her slotted as a villain. But I think when you want to be the villain, you take on a lot of headache. When you end up being the victim, when people can sit back and say, "Nah, man, she's being done wrong," you kind of become a hero. And that's what happened with Claressa Shields and Layla Ali. Layla Ali's a hero. She was the victim. Claressa Shields was the villain. Now she got all the headache. Franchon Dezurn is kind of cool as a cucumber. She's seen as a hero, seen as the victim. Claressa Shields, again, as a villain, as the headache. And for those who are saying how you come up with that, look, the public decides. I'm more than qualified to talk about that shit because of how much time I spent. And I listen to the ladies. I can recall every single conversation that I had for 3 months with those ladies on the live. I remember every single thing every one of them said. I know their names. As for some of them, I remember the first 3 parts. First, I remember the area codes. But I remember every woman's name, everything. Their profile names, I remember them all. Because I pay attention to stuff like that. And I listen to people. Wherever the ladies are out here, those who are gone elsewhere, they're looking for the little latest gossip. See if the people know who they are. You know what I'm saying? But the public is going to decide on how Claressa and Franchon are viewed. Because you can be cast in different roles, man. Some are going to see Claressa and Franchon as strong, as real, as honest. Others are going to see them as loud, bitter, disrespectful. But polarization drives traffic. Traffic drives narratives. Narratives harden into labels, and labels replace achievements. And it's cool I'm being labeled if it's being labeled for something positive that you can benefit from. But once you get labeled as a villain, as toxic, as trouble, as a problem, everything that you've done gets overshadowed. And that's not what you want. So is Claressa and Franchon controlling their stories, or are they losing it? Some would say Franchon has no story. And some would say she does, but she's controlling it. With Claressa, some would say she's totally lost her story. And there's nothing anyone can do to help her. It's 100% on her. Anyway, man, that's the end of part 18. I'll pick up part 19 in a different video. Who y'all got winning? Countdown to Shields versus Dezurn. A whole lot of shit going on with these two, man. Especially with Claressa. And we're going to see just how the public responds. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.